So we'll just quickly start Quarks project from the Quarks plugin, Visual Studio Code. Provide all the details required to create the project template, including the Maven build, the artifact, the folder where we create a project. So now we have the project. It's nothing but a simple resource REST controller. So let's open a terminal. And the first thing, just looking at the project where the workspace is running, there is nothing but the workspace pod. So now all the commands will be executed inside the workspace pod. So we switch to the project folder, and then we quickly run Quarks in dev mode. We just could skip the unit testing. So the project will build, and we get the application running in dev mode from inside the workspace pod. So we'll enable the debugging port and then wait for the application to start. Now the application is listening to port 8080. You can open the application, go to the REST controller, hello, to see yes, hello from REST. And we can see nothing is created because everything is happening within the workspace pod. So now let's open a new terminal, and we will build our own container out of the project source code. First of all, let's check the status. So we are connected to the OpenShift using the OC CLI, comes with the workspace, and we can see now the current project is user1 workspace. We'll add one plugin for Quarks, which is the OpenShift plugin, and this will allow us quickly from the command line to build and deploy the application to OpenShift. So we'll just provide the command Maven install and giving the Kubernetes plugin deploy equal true. So what will happen? The plugin will build the Quarks binaries, and then will build the set of objects inside OpenShift, the current project. One of them is the build configuration, and using the build configuration, we will build the application image as an image stream inside the project. And the last step is to create a deployment config object to pull the application image and deploy it. You can see now that the OpenShift is detected because we already have OC with a logged in user, and it's also detecting the API server endpoint, and now checking all the resources inside the user project. So this is the user1 DevSpaces, the project where the resources will be created. We can see now that the build config is created, and now the build is happening. If we go to the build config and look at the builds, there is one active build. Looking at the logs, we can see that the container image being created now. All the container image layers are pushed inside the container image, and the container image is pushed inside the image registry. So if we go back to now the process is completed. If we go back to the project and check the number of pods, we can see that our pod is running now. And also we can check the service, which is also created by the plugin. You can see that one service is created, and it is listening to port 80. So let's quickly go and change the port configuration for the service, because our service we wanted to actually map to port 8080. This can be also done in the application properties file. You can override this default port and always use 8080. So now we have the service. So we can quickly expose the service to create a route, and hence we'll be able to access the application. So just expose the service. If we go back to the web console and go to the topology, you can see now the route is created. Click on the route, we can access the application, and click on the REST controller, we can see the. So now let's go back to our IDE and start applying some changes. So the moment you apply any change in the source code, you can trigger this process again to build a new container image having the changes. So let's add v2, and we'll definitely need to trigger the same again and make sure that services are. And if we click and get, you can see v2 is running. So this is again, if we need to build the container image and push it. But if you, at any point of time, you need to start your Quarks in dev mode, you still can go back to your terminal and call the Maven Quarks dev and skip the test if not required. And this will also build the recent source code and run your application in dev mode. Let's wait for the application to start. We'll open the debugging port and then open the application port, open the browser, access the REST controller. You can see version 2 is coming. So let's do a hot changes now. So now we have the application deployed on both. So let's do some hot changes. Go back to our IDE and change version 2 to version 3. So we don't need to do anything for the Quarks running in the dev mode. Just refresh, we get version 3. But for us to update the running pod, which is still showing version 2, we will need to go back and trigger a new container image build. It's exactly the same command. Okay, so after this successful image build, the new image will be deployed and we'll get to see the application running within the pod. So now at any point of time, you can have the developer view running your application in a dev mode, but if you want to make sure how the application is behaving running within a container, yes, you can build your container image, push it to the namespace where you run your workspaces and see your application changes reflected inside the container image. Now, if we click on the REST controller, we can see the version 3 of the application already reflected here.